What's up, guys? My name is Taylor Carnell. Welcome to Behind the Mic episode 2, where I'm going to be breaking down Reflections, my second album, my first indie project. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is why did I choose indie? A lot of people were really confused about that, and some people even DM'd me and asked me if I was still doing hip hop. The answer is yes. I'll have an announcement at the end of the video talking more about that. But I did indie because I don't want to be put inside of a box. You know, today's standard is really revolved around people have to stick to one genre. They have to stick to one sound, to one thing, and that's the consistency. But to me, as long as you're consistent through a project, I think that's more important than staying consistent with genres. I think that if you can do good in multiple genres, I think that you have a good artist, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's just my opinion. So I wanted to just show that. I wanted to express that. A lot of people don't like that, and that's okay. You know, I'm just not the artist for you, unfortunately. That's just kind of how it is. And that's just something I had to learn to accept. You know, moving on to the next topic, I wanted to talk about the overall theme and the message behind this entire thing. So that also kind of goes into the concept. This is a concept album, and there are some skits layered out through it. There's 3 skits. There's an intro, there's an interlude, and then there's an outro to the album. It's not too long. They're really bittersweet. But the whole point of that is I want you to decide. That's the biggest thing, is I want you to decide what is the theme, what is the message, because this album is going to correlate differently for everybody. People are going to have different feelings about this album and how they feel about their life whenever they listen to it. So this is more of like, it's called Reflections because I want you to reflect on yourself when you listen to the album. You can listen to this album on a rainy day. You can listen to this album on a sunny day with the windows down, driving down. You know, you could listen to this when you're bored at work. You know, there's many places, many scenarios that you can listen to this. It's not a specific mood. It's however you want to set the mood, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this album. That's the whole point of the theme, is to just, you know, state a statement that I don't want you to feel a certain way. I want you to feel how you want to feel when you listen to my music. And that was the big stance that I wanted to take whenever I made this album. Anyway, so now we're going to break down all the tracks one by one, and I'm going to talk about them for you. So the first track on this is, of course, the intro, which really sets the scene, sets the vibe of what's going to happen next. Nothing too special there. There's really no meaning behind that. We just wanted something to catch your attention, to just kind of like leave you in awe as it goes into the next song. The second track, or the first song in the album, is Hard to Find.
Don't know why my mind's so high, but I know that I'm hard to find. Don't let the devil inside, so I decide to walk in blind. Don't give a fuck about.
I was really inspired by Mac Miller, if you couldn't tell. The beat is actually a Mac Miller type beat that we found on YouTube, so that kind of says a lot about it. I made this in a point in my life when I was listening to a lot of Mac Miller at the time. I was inspired by him. Watching movies was something that was extremely inspiring to me. Circles was also something that was very inspiring to me. And then swimming, you know, all of these albums, they have a lot of meaning to me. Doing songs where they're just inspired, especially from Mac Miller, you know, they mean a lot to me. And this one had a lot of effort put into it. This is one of the first songs that I wrote that was kind of this vibey. It's more of a vibe. I wanted you to just sit and listen to it and just like relax. That's the whole point of the song. But you know, that being said, that moving on to the next song, which is Wristbands.
All I see is sunshine, all I see is sunshine. I got nothing but good vibes on my mind, and they don't understand that I'm one of a kind. All I do is win, everyone's stuck behind.
This is a fan favorite, something that a lot of people are enjoying right now, which I'm very happy about. Again, I was listening to a lot of Mac Miller. This is about the same time that I wrote Hard to Find. I really wanted to get that chillness, that vibiness that Mac Miller can do, but also that happiness at the same time. Mac Miller has a lot of different moods, but at the time I was really inspired by his really upbeat, bouncy moods, like Weekend featuring Miguel.
I'll be good by the weekend. Yeah. I'll be good by the weekend. Yeah. Everything good by the weekend.
Or Under the Weather.
I bet it must be nice. Chilling every day. Not really doing shit, a couple million in the bank. I'm working all the time, never getting me a break.
Things like that. They really had a lot of inspiration throughout this album, and you can hear it if you listen to a lot of Mac Miller. You can hear the inspiration. Moving on to the next track, It's Really Nothing.
I don't wanna sit alone. I don't wanna check my phone, but I have to. They know.
This was actually the first indie song I have ever done, and I wrote it last year around this time. So we released it a long time ago, and if you look down on my catalog, you'll see that it was released quite a bit ago. I think it was around like 6 to 8 months ago. Regardless, it was a great song, and that was actually when I had the idea to do this album. This album was originally going to be called Chord Drawer, and if you look at some of the older videos, you can see that we're actually hinting at Chord Drawer being released, but the funny thing is, it was never called Chord Drawer. We completely scrapped the idea. We're going to save it for a future date, and we decided to name it Reflections, which is kind of a last minute decision. Chord Drawer is still on the table. Basically, the whole theme of that was I have a chord drawer at my house where it's a drawer where I store all my chords. So that's what it was going to be inspired by. But we were going to spell chord, C-H-O-R-D, like strumming a chord, the musical chord, and that was kind of like the wordplay with it. It was a really cool idea. We were gonna have an animated drawer with a bunch of guitar pedals, and each guitar pedal was sitting on a bunch of little Easter eggs from past projects, blah blah blah, and every guitar pedal was its own song. So like it would have been hard to find is its own guitar pedal, yada yada yada. Here's actually a scrapped picture of the hard to find photo. I'm gonna have you edit that in there, Jordan. Yep, I'm gonna want to just right here. This is what it was actually going to be. And, you know, we really did change directions, which I'll kind of explain why as I go through. The next song is When We Speak.
I just want you to stay. Don't have to go away, okay? I love you anyway. Thinking of you all day, always. I want to.
At the time when I wrote this song, I was really inspired by the song Take It. It's a song that blew up all over TikTok. It's one of my favorite indie songs, and I listened to it over and over and over again. And I was like, I had all of this inspiration, but I was doing a lot of rap, so it was like I felt like I couldn't do it. One day I just got up and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do a song like this. So that's what I did. Simple as that. Created a song that was heavily inspired by Take It. If you listen to Take It and you listen to When We Speak, you'll hear a lot of similarities, which I'm not ashamed of. You know, I mean, it's the whole genre. It all sounds very similar, but you know, now you kind of know. That was my inspiration behind it. Moving on to the next track, we have track number 6, which is called Interlude, which is just an interlude. There's nothing special about it. But this is kind of when the entire concept starts forming within the album. You're listening as somebody's waking up in an open space of just a white void, which is the space between time, which you hear from the voice actor who voice acted the mysterious lady that was in the void. I guess I want you guys to picture this the way I picture this. I kind of picture this as like you're sitting in a white void and there's just the voice. There's no human talking to you. It's just voice that's surrounding you. That's kind of what we wanted to create. But he's trying to figure out where he is. You know, all of these songs, they mean something to this person, and they mean something to correlate to his life, which I'll explain once we get to the outro. So the next song, moving on, is She Used to Look at Me.
Got my head in the clouds. Wonder what it'd be like with you around. Sometimes I fall and I hit the ground. Maybe next time I'll just drown.
Which honestly, again, heavily inspired by Take It. You know, those are great artists, people that wrote that song. You should definitely check them out. But I was also inspired a lot by Logic. Logic has an indie side to him, and that's honestly one of my favorite sides. One of my favorite songs, and the number one song that I listened to last year on Spotify Wrapped, was actually The Feeling by Logic. Here's the album cover for that. Very underground song for Logic. No one really knows about it, but that was definitely a huge inspiration. I draw a lot of inspiration from Logic's indie side. I think that there's a lot of potential there. But anyways, moving on, we have Acting Friendly.
I spend my time acting friendly, thinking you will come and get me a secret.
Which I had met this producer. His name is Everest. I don't know. It's just like I just went through his channel and I was like, every single instrumental that I heard was absolutely insane. Like it was super high quality. All of it was free for profit. And usually when you see producers that have that free for profit tag on all of their music and it's that high quality, they're pretty genuine. So I reached out and I'm like, you have an amazing taste in what you make for beats and yada yada yada. But those two, She Used to Look at Me and Acting Friendly, shout out to him because that was amazing production. The next song we're gonna move on to is Please Don't Hate Me.
Tired of the bullshit. bullshit, locked up, strapped down. I just need to cool it. I'm foolish. All these decisions that make me lose it. But the things I do, I guess.
Which was produced by my close friend John Hoffman. He also did the backing vocals. One of the most talented kids I've ever met. He produced that entire thing in his room. The drums were real drums. He actually did that. He did the guitar. He did everything that you hear on the track, which is, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful track. He's from Hawaii. He's very chill, very easy to work with. I seriously recommend checking him out. Here's his TikTok. Follow him on TikTok. Seriously, like all of his videos. He deserves it. Anyway, so we were actually going to do 2 tracks. He was going to produce a second one, and the second one was an amazing song, but unfortunately, it didn't make the cut. I couldn't put lyrics on it, and I'm working on it still, so you're going to probably hear that as a single coming up in the future. It's called Screw My Problems. It was an amazing beat, amazing instrumental. I just have yet to figure out what I want to do with it. So we were going to actually have 2 tracks on there with him producing 2 of them. He was going to have a whole verse on the second track. It just didn't happen. That's just kind of how it is, fortunately, but you'll be hearing a single from it very soon. Moving on to the last song, but not the last track, is They Leave.
I guess I won't speak, 'cause when I do, they leave alone, bought up inside, and
Fun fact, the producer that produced this actually produced Romantic Homicide, which was pretty surprising to me. I went on his channel and I realized that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. You can really tell the similarities between Romantic Homicide and that song. I didn't even realize that. Like, when I made that song, I didn't really hear Romantic Homicide. I haven't really heard of that song. Once I heard it, I realized how similar the instrumentals are. I mean, that's because it's the same producer. This is one of my best performances in a song. This was the last song that I had recorded and the most recent song that I had recorded inside of this album. It is definitely something that's going to be going up on my shelf to just display to everybody. It's a very, very great song, very emotional, very impactful. I really experimented with panning and layering vocals. It's just in my opinion, it's definitely the best song that came out of this. If you do check out this album, I really highly suggest listening to They Leave at least. And anyway, so moving on to the last track, we have the outro, which concludes part of this concept that we had created. Basically, you had figured out that you've been watching all these songs represent a part of your life, and that's how you wanted it to be. This is how you imagined your life, or at least how you wanted it to be, which is one of the quotes that she says, which really makes it a little bit more dark. She doesn't answer any of his questions. She's extremely confusing. You don't really know what she's saying, but then she says that, and more things start to click, and he thinks that he's dead. Is he dead? That's for you to decide. That's all your choice. That entire concept was actually created within one day. So me and my engineer, Jordan, he's actually the one also editing this video and adding in a bunch of stuff. Shout out, Jordan. He also did the artwork, and he did the editing, and he did the engineering because he's an engineer. So yeah, shout out to you, Jordan. Fuck you, Jordan. Anyway, so me and Jordan hopped on a call, and basically we were discussing a mix for when we speak, and it was something so small. It was just something at the end I wanted him to change. And then we were talking, we were discussing, and we were like, this feels more like an album than it does an EP, because this was originally going to be called Corridor, and it was going to be an EP. But we wanted to add a really beautiful ambience type intro, but then that intro sparked the conversation of, should we just make skits and create a concept and then add songs? And then we just kept thinking, and eventually we wrote an entire script for 2 skits, and we had Jordan's girlfriend voice act over those skits. As we were on the FaceTime call, he sent me what she said. I went into my car where I record, and I finished recording the skits, put them together, created the instrumentals for the backs of those. And that's kind of how it all started. You know, it was just a really, 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 really ambitious idea. We just decided it on the spot and just did it that day. You know, it's pretty crazy how some of the the most structure from something that we create was a last minute decision. A lot of this album was a last minute decision, but nonetheless, it still turned out to be an amazing project. One of the most like important things that we wanted to keep was consistency, and that was a very weird thing to do because we started off the track. You start off the album on lo-fi hip hop, but it kind of has like an indie feel to it. You started on this lo-fi hip hop, kind of like a poppy, a little bit of an indie vibe, and it transitions into complete indie. So we were like, how are we going to do that? And at first, It's Really Nothing was actually not going to make the cut. We decided not to put it on there, but we put it in there because it was the perfect transition from rap to indie. So we really, it was more, it was like, it made sense. And if you listen to it, you'll hear we pay a lot of attention to details on transitions. There's a lot of amazing transitions on here. So I'll have you cut to the transition between Please Don't Hate Me and They Leave right now. And then second, the transition from Hard to Find and Wristbands right here. It's just, there's plenty more, but we really paid attention to that. We wanted this to feel like you were listening to one really long song. And that's kind of like, that's how it turned out in the end, which was, we're really, really happy that it turned out like that. This project really, really taught me how to mix my favorite genres. This is a very big stepping stone in what I'm going to be doing for my sound. I'm figuring it out. And I think I'm starting to really learn and be able to understand more of the creative process, especially through this, doing something so different and out of the box and from what I usually do. That was the entire goal, which it also taught me to just be myself, do what I want to do in the moment. Like when I'm inspired, I'm just going to make something and then show it to the world instead of holding it in. There's been a lot of inspiration in a lot of genres that I've just been too scared to do. And now you're going to stop seeing that. You're going to start seeing a lot more of Taylor Carnell that is going to be a lot more dynamic within genres and mixing genres. I have a lot of ideas for the future, and they're definitely not going to be ending soon. So that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video, but I would like to announce there will be an album this summer around beginning of July to beginning of August-ish area, just around that month. We're going to be doing another album, but this one's going to be a lot more fixated on rap, and I am going to be producing a majority of this. There will be zero tight beat YouTube productions on this album, and I'm really excited to announce it. We're going to be experimenting with orchestra, with lo-fi, with pop, even hopefully even some indie thrown in there as well, but we want to put our everything into this. It has a very old school but also a very new school hip hop vibe. Very well structured right now. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's going to be about, I think we're thinking about 16 tracks. It's going to be about an hour long or more, but this is going to be a full project, and I just hope you guys are hype about it. I'll be giving more information. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll have my name right here. That would be great. You'll be able to see a lot of snippets of upcoming songs and upcoming ideas. Yeah, and then that would be it. Just feel free to drop a follow on any of my platforms right here. Really appreciate it if you subscribe or give a like to this video. Help the algorithm get the video out. Hope you guys have an amazing day today, and I'll see you guys in the next Behind the Mic. We're out.